There it is. Okay, now that we're recording, what do you have to say?
Oh, nothing. You
Let me turn it off.
probably heard my dog snoring.
No, I didn't. My dog doesn't snore. My dog only begs.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, we got the recording going, but to no one's benefit right now. So we'll move along. And okay. The people who do have an accommodation with me, I could have talked to you very recently, so you would expect that I remember what you said. Okay. But I'd still, I think, like you to send me an email and started off with the word in the subject accommodation. Accommodation. You can do it with student number or your name. No one else is ever going to see it, just me. Okay. Although there was one email I got yesterday. Let's see if the person's here. I don't see the person here, but don't need to mention any names anyway. I got an email yesterday, and you got it too, because it was sent to me, but carbon copy to all. Okay. Try not to hit reply to all. Other people may not be interested in what's being said. Okay. If you absolutely think everybody's going to be happy to read it, well, then that's fine. Go ahead and do reply to all. Just be careful. Okay. Okay. Now, here's where momentarily we got screwed yesterday with the frozen screen. Let's just hope that that doesn't happen today. Uh, I'm tempted to hit the share button, but I can do that later. Good. Okay. A couple of people, two people, one last night, one today, wrote me that they were unable to open one of the practice quizzes, that it was already locked. Do you mind telling me who you were?
Me?
It's okay.
It's on the to-do list. It says
Huh?
It's on the to-do list. It says bonus quiz 10 points. June 22nd.
That helps.
But it oh. You have to go on the dashboard.
What about the dashboard? I'm already on our class.
Um,
I changed the name. There were 3 quizzes. I've got all 3 of them here. The most recent is quiz number 3. Okay, and there's 3, 2. We'll go over these, and 1, because these all 3 pertain to the lecture test tomorrow. However, if you can see lecture test 1, I'd be surprised. I tried to take it off for the time being, and I'll repost it in the morning at 7 o'clock to be taken. Lecture test 1, you should not be able to see, or you should not be able to activate. Now, what I'm going to do is go up to the top, and I'm going to hit student view. this is the view that you should be having when you get your screen back. And if I go to the bottom here, lecture test 1 is gone. Well, of course it's not gone. Lecture test 1 is simply hidden, okay? And it'll be back at the bottom of module 3 tomorrow. Here's practice test 3. Just want to see that it comes up. And this is the Zoom quiz. I don't know. Okay. If that's a resume quiz, I don't want it, so I'm going to submit it, but there it is. I wouldn't get many of those right because I didn't try any answers. I'm going to go upwards to the second week, practice quiz 2. I think this one said take after Monday or something. Well, that's passed. So this is practice quiz 2. This is what you're expected to see. Now this one says for me to resume quiz. It's not referring to you. You'll see, take the quiz. It says resume quiz to me because I'm known as test student. That's why we weren't getting any answers to the last test. Now it requires that test student has to have a grade. I gave myself an 80. I felt like giving myself 100 or a 0, but I gave myself an 80, and then that should have freed up your material. So this quiz pops up too. I'm going to submit it with no answers just to get it out there. And
Charlie,
yep.
practicum 1 is actually still muted. We still can't see.
What?
Yeah, we still can't click it and see what we missed on that one.
Okay. I don't know what else I can do right now. Okay. I will still look into it. I did the grading. I graded all of the students, including now the test student. Okay. I'll find out what's going on. I thought I had it, so, and I got a smiley face from somebody, the one with the reply to all. I thought that was in reference to the fact that now they could see their test. Do I have to look up who smiley face was? Because I will.
Is anyone else able to see theirs? Maybe it's just on my end.
No, mine was muted too.
Yeah, I can't see mine either.
Can't see mine either.
Okay, another question then. Was anybody able to see?
Good.
No.
Okay. Then, just pardon my curiosity. Oh, come on. Here we go. I know you're able to see this, but I don't have any worrisome email. This would have gone right to the trash because it wasn't important. Oh well, we're just taking up time. Okay, as far as the fact that it is muted, uh, frankly, it's immaterial. I know you want to see it, and I want you to see it, but for tomorrow, it has nothing to do with tomorrow's exam. Okay, it won't change in the meantime. Your scores were very good. So you should be concerned about that. I am concerned as to why you can't see it. Okay. Don't expect to see it between now and tomorrow because I don't want your time going backwards to it. Okay, this exam works. Sorry about that. I thought I had it. And then the first practice quiz. Okay, this referred to the material for Unit 1. Okay, there's no time limit on these practice quizzes. You can take them as many times as you want. I want you to call off the answers. I don't want it to be the same person every time, maybe every third time it could be you. The anatomical term inferior means that something is what?
Below
Below something else.
What to something else?
Below something else.
Yes, it does. So we'll mark that. Okay, now if there's any question about it, you don't understand it, well, I think that's an easy one. But if there is one that's tough, say so. The sternum is what to the heart?
superficial.
Superficial, yes. A joint that commonly separates during childbirth. And read all of the answers. Okay? You're tempted, maybe like me, to go right for pubic, and I think that says public. It's not public at all. Pubic symphysis. Okay. But what about this synchondroses? Is that the same thing? Synchondroses is the epiphyseal plate. So yeah, it is pubic symphysis. I answered that one. The joint between the radius and the ulna is fibrous. And what, as far as motion is concerned?
Amphiarthritic.
Amphiarthrotic. The fifth one, intermembranous ossification is usually associated with what kind of bones? We have four types of bones: long, short, irregular, irregular like the sphenoid or the ethmoid, and flat bones.
Flat bones.
Bones.
Got it? The joint between the flat bones of the skull. The joints between the flat bones of the
Sutures.
skull
Sutures.
are sutures. Slightly movable joint, that'd be amphiarthrotic, right away in my mind, between the distal ends of the radius and the ulna is
Syndesmosis.
right. The only slightly movable joints are the syndesmosis and the symphysis. The symphysis is a cartilaginous joint, and the one between the radius and the ulna is a fibrous joint. The joints between adjacent vertebrae, what would they be?
Cartilaginous.
Cartilaginous. 9. A synchondrosis is an example of what kind of a joint? Now we're looking at a structure here. Okay, is it synovial, fibrous, cartilaginous, or diarthrotic? First off, before we even answer that, diarthrotic is functional, meaning fully movable. These other ones, synovial, fibrous, and cartilage, these are structural. And that's exactly what we're looking for. What's the synchondrosis?
Cartilaginous.
Cartilaginous. 10. Most of the joints in the human body are what type?
Diarthrotic.
Fully movable. Yes, same thing. And another person, joints that are fully movable are said to be, oh my God, the answer to the last question, tells us the answer to this question. I'll give it to you, diarthrotic. 12. Amphiarthrotic joints are always fibrous in structure.
False.
Because, false. Because the symphysis pubis and the joints between the vertebrae are not fibrous, they're cartilaginous, yet they are also amphiarthrotic. 13. Bursae, where do we find those?
Near synovial joints.
Exactly. Before it's fully mature, and while it's still visible in an X-ray, the epiphyseal plate consists of what?
Cartilage.
Cartilage, yes. 15. The synovial cavity is filled with a fluid called, appropriately,
Synovial.
Synovial fluid.
synovial fluid. 16. A foramen is a space or a gap between two or more bones.
False.
False.
That's false. A foramen is a hole through a single bone. Gap between two or more bones is a fissure. Which of the following is the most distal in location? Shoulder, elbow, wrist, fingertip, or pericardium?
Fingertip.
Fingertip.
Fingertip. Pericardium is just a throw in to make 5 questions. 18. Digit number 2. That's your index finger. Is what?
Lateral.
Come on.
Lateral.
Digit 2 is blank to digit 3. Lateral is the correct answer. 19. Most of the joints in the skull are sutures. But that's sort of a repeat of an earlier question. Our last question in the practice test. The only joint of the skull that has a movable joint is the temporomandibular joint or jaw. What kind of joint is the TMJ?
Synovial.
Yes. And now we want to check. And somewhere it's going to tell me
On the top right.
current score, 20 out of 20. Did well, did well. The questions on the test are different, but they're no more difficult. When you took the practice test the first time, and I'm assuming most of you did, I hope all of you did, and I hope all of you will if you haven't. How well did you do? Did you benefit from taking the quiz a second time?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
And does the quiz help direct you to what you should be studying? I hope so.
Yeah.
For sure.
I won't ask that for the next one. We'll go down to the quiz number 2. I numbered them because it's a little easier to keep track of finally. Okay, this one I actually submitted. Current score 0 out of 20. I was just looking at it. Okay, so I'm going to take the quiz again. You'll just get a red banner and it'll say take the quiz. Okay, how many thoracic vertebrae? How many thoracic vertebrae?
12.
Okay, let's mute. I don't want to have to search to find where the noise is coming from. I think we got it done. Thank you. Okay. Kids and I'm not getting mad. Don't worry. I'm having fun. Kids don't like me. Kids don't like me. That kid that you heard a moment ago must have known I was on the screen because they don't like me. They absolutely don't like me. I go down the aisle at the supermarket with my cart. Here comes another cart the other way, right at me. Come on, hit the mute button, please.
Daisy, you're unmuted. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, well, anyway, I've been going down this aisle, and here comes a cart, and in the cart coming at me is a kid, in the little basket. And the kid sees me. The mother is pushing, usually the mother. I know should be both the father and mother, but it's usually the mother. And the kid turns around in the basket and sees me and points and starts to cry. They always start to cry when they see me. Oh, God. So I go down the end of my aisle, it gets a bit better. I make the turn, and guess what the other cart did? Made the turn to the same aisle. Here we go again and again. Once I was standing behind, near the racks, near the vegetable displays, and there was a kid hanging on to her mother and by hand, and I didn't want to go over there. I wanted some oranges, but I didn't want to go over there and scare the kid. I just have that effect, I guess, on kids. And the kid turned around, looked around, and started pulling at the mother's hand, and again until she got her mother's attention. And then she pointed at me. The kid was just like 3 years old, and goes, I guess that's when they can talk. I don't know. She points at me and says, Mama, look at the funny man. Oh, God. I felt so great. As much as I do have a problem with kids, I was in front of the Nalts in San Juan Capistrano years and years ago, and this kid is crying, and the mother is carrying the kid and bringing the kid over to me like I'm the father or something. No way. She said, my child will not be calm unless she can touch your hair. I had a lot of hair, and I don't know. I had I gave in, and I let the kid touch my hair, and it went away happy. That was the last time that ever happened. Okay, question number 1 on the second test. How many thoracic vertebrae do we have? I'll get us started with 12. Be sure you know how many we have in each section. 7, 12, 5, 1, and 1. When a red blood cell is in a solution that has a higher concentration of solids than the red blood cell itself, well, water is going to lead to the higher concentration of solids. And the solution is said to be what?
Hypertonic.
Solution is hypertonic. Okay, the solution is higher in salt. Okay, this leads to crenation. I probably asked that a little farther on, where the cell shrinks because it loses water. Question 3: the joint between vertebra, those are which?
Symphyses.
Exactly. Question 4: groups of tissue that perform a common function, they're called,
Organ system.
yes. I said, well, actually, no.
Just
I
organ.
answered organ. I answered too quickly. an organ like the stomach. An organ system would include the stomach, but the intestines as well and other parts. 5. The process where chemicals are separated by their size. These are all the passive processes.
Dialysis.
Dialysis are heard. The anatomical position or in anatomical position, metacarpal 2. That's the index finger again. Metacarpal 1. Eyes were tearing up. Metacarpal 1, that'll be in the thumb, is what to metacarpal 2?
Medial.
Lateral.
Lateral.
Okay. Lateral is the correct answer, I think.
1.
Thumb is always lateral. The number of vertebrae in the adult human is normally what?
26.
Okay, 26. We have more in a fetus. The sacrum, for instance, is still 5 bones, but we have fewer bones in the adult, 26. In a long bone, the secondary ossification centers are located where?
Epiphyses.
Epiphyses. The intestinal lining is composed of what tissue type? This question here, I've used it as a practice question, but I also use it as a test question sometimes, and it causes people a lot of grief. Okay, the intestinal lining, the lining of anything, is an epithelium. Okay. Epithelium covers or lines. So I'm giving you that answer. The marrow cavity of a long bone is lined by what? Now, this shouldn't be there. Okay. No need to tell you why it is there. Here are the correct answers, though, as a radio button. What's the marrow cavity lined with?
Industium.
Endosteum. How many true ribs do we have?
14.
14, because there are 7 sets of true ribs, ribs 1 through 7. 12, if you were able to walk through a mirror but you got caught through halfway, what plane are you sectioned in?
Frontal.
Frontal. A red blood cell is placed in a hypertonic solution. If it is placed in a hypertonic solution, it will undergo what?
Crenation.
Crenation. That was the same example as we used above, but worded in a different way. I often do that in a test. Don't let it fool you. It's not intended to fool you. It's intended to see that you will stick by your guns. 14, the dens is found on which single vertebra?
C2.
C2. Okay. 15, the number of bones in the appendicular skeleton?
126.
126 there, 80 in the axial skeleton, and 206 altogether. Facets are found on all thoracic vertebrae. True or false?
True. True.
It's true. Okay. Quite often people fall for the word all, and they say it can never be because there's always exceptions. That's not true. Don't think that way. All thoracic vertebrae have facets on the transverse process. Movement across the cell membrane always takes place by osmosis.
False.
False.
Well, if it doesn't always take place by osmosis and sometimes does take place by osmosis, what else is there?
Active transport.
Yes, active transport. 18. Blood is an example of which tissue type?
Connective.
Connective tissue. 19. Interconnections between adjacent aversion systems. This is where the Haversian canals in two osteons join perpendicularly. What is the connection?
Folkman canals.
Volkmann Canal. And the last one for this little practice quiz. Cancellous bone is also known as what kind of bone?
Spongy bone.
Take a look at our answers. 20 out of 20. Okay. I'm hoping you didn't get 20 out of 20 the first time. Okay. We will do the last quiz. Take a break and then we'll come to some new material. I'm moving down to practice test 3. We'll take it again. During mitosis, chromosomes move towards the centrioles. During what phase? Now here's some key words. Move. I've underlined it for you. Chromosomes move towards the centrioles. What phase of regular cell division?
Anaphase.
Say it.
Anaphase.
Anaphase. Okay. If you disagree, say so. Question 2. In meiosis, reduction cell division,
Yeah.
which of the two divisions is the one in which the number
You did.
of
Yeah.
what?
And I sent an email to everyone. You were on it about, I saved it. Yeah. Yeah.
In meiosis, which of the two divisions is the one in which the number of chromosomes is reduced to 1 N per cell? The two divisions are called meiosis 1 and 2, which is the reduction phase.
Meiosis 1.
It is. Which of the following is a major site of protein synthesis? I saw this incorrect on somebody's study guide, made a correction. Major site of protein synthesis.
Is it the rough ear?
That's exactly it. Meiosis results in the formation of 4 genetically identical ova in the female. They'd all be 1 N.
False.
Okay, we don't get 4 ova. We get 1 ova and 3 minuscule polar bodies. 5. Oogenesis takes place throughout the reproductive lifespan of the female. True or false?
False.
Okay. If a person has a child, let's say at 25, well, they're in their reproductive lifespan, but oogenesis takes place at birth. 6. Recombination results from the exchange of genetic material between what? Here you have to be careful. What processes?
Chromatids.
Chromatids.
Chromatids cross over. 7. Polar bodies are formed during, we just said that one, I'll give it to you, oogenesis. 8. The number of vertebrae in the adult human. We just had that one, and it was 26. I guess I didn't realize I asked it in the previous test. Chromatids are connected to the same chromosome by what?
Centromere.
Centromere, exactly. It's also known as the kinetochore, in case you come across it, but you won't come across it on our test. It'll be centromere. The actual replication of genetic material in a cell takes place when?
Interphase.
That happens in interphase, exactly. The preparation of cell division takes place in interphase. Okay. Cell division is everything else. 11, in considering the attachment of muscles, the end that moves during contraction. This is from yesterday. The end that moves is which one? You got it. Say it.
Insertion.
Insertion. Insertion moves towards the origin. Smooth muscle is both striated and under voluntary control. True or false?
False.
False.
False, because it's neither. It's neither. It's not striated and it's not under voluntary control. All cells are capable of mitosis.
False.
If it's false, how did we get the cell in the first place? Well, the answer is false. For instance, a red blood cell can't divide. It has no nucleus inside of it. Brain cells, for the most part, do not divide as well. 14, all cells are capable of meiosis.
False.
Correct. Only the cells that give rise to the gametes are capable of meiosis. The spindle apparatus is formed by what organelle?
Centromeres?
No, thank you though.
Centrioles.
The centrioles. Okay, the two centrioles reach out. I think of them as little fishing boats, tuna boats actually, where they throw out multiple rods and lines and they hook onto the fish in the center, the fish in the center being the chromosomes, especially the centromeres. Which of the following is not a tissue?
Skin.
Skin. I think without showing you this first, half of you would have quickly answered it and missed it. It's an easy question. You look back and you hit yourself on the head. Skin is an organ, the largest organ in the body. 17, when the angle of the joint gets smaller with muscle contraction, the action of the muscle is what? For instance,
Flexion.
okay, you got it, flexion. I'm thinking of flexing the elbow, flexing the fingers, make a fist. Okay. Raising the thigh up to your abdomen to kick a soccer ball, for instance. That's all flexion. What part of the body is moved away from the midline? Or when it's moved away, it's called what?
Abduction.
Yes, abduction, to take away. Which of the following is the largest from our experience?
Trochanter.
The trochanter of the femur. And the connective tissue that surrounds the fasciculus is. Here you got to remember that diagram.
Epimysium.
Perimysium.
Paramysium is the answer. Paramysium surrounds the fasciculus. Endomysium surrounds the muscle fibers. Epimysium surrounds the entire muscle. Take another look if you need to at that diagram. It's on 2 lectures, same picture. And 20 out of 20. The only reason I ever take the test, since I made the test up, is to find out if I get 20 out of 20 myself. If I get 19 out of 20, I know I got a bad question someplace. One of the wrong answers is picked. Okay, I'm going to give you a break now. It's 2 o'clock. Let's come back at 2:15 today. I don't have I've got an infinite amount of material to give you, but I don't want to detract from your time from studying for the lecture exam. But I want to give you enough material that you'll realize once the exam is finished with, you need to start studying for the practicum and continue on with the muscle tissue. Okay, so you're at 215. Hello,
Oh,
Hi, Charlie.
howdy. Okay, of course I'm gonna say, does anybody have a question? Okay. And we're still recording, so. I was thinking about what I was telling you about kids at the supermarket. It amazes me sometimes when a kid acts up. And all kids act up, I think, sooner or later. But the parent grabs the kid and holds his arm or something and says, if you don't be quiet, we're going to take a time out. Did you have that? Or do you have that?
I do that to my time out.
Okay. Time out. I saw that for the first time, 10 years ago. But before that, God, you're so lucky maybe to be in this generation, or the kid is. Uh, how do you discipline a kid by threatening that they're going to sit still? I guess they don't like to sit still or something. In my day, when I was 5, 6, 7, 8, or anything like that, or years old, I was dragged outside. I mean, literally dragged outside by my father and whipped. You know, that was what you did in those days.
Yeah,
This,
now they call CPS on you if you do that, so that's a no-no.
oh, now you can't do that. I understand that. You know, and I'm not apt to do it because I'm not a father. I didn't want to be a father because of my father. Uh, he was something else. I told you I'd mention couple things when it hit. Uh, I had a sister a year younger. I told you about her. And when I was 5, she was 4, my father gave us both knives, uh, very sharp pocket knives, and we were to use them every Saturday morning and go out into the back where we had a whole bunch of bamboo growing. We were to cut a bamboo switch. Well, you couldn't cut a big one. You cut one about the size of a fishing rod, fishing pole, and limber. And you brought him the uh, bamboo, put the knife away, and he took the bamboo and turned us around and whipped us with the bamboo on our legs every single Saturday, whether we had done anything or not. If we did anything, that was usually me, during the week, we got it then too. But we always had Saturday to look forward to. We knew we were going to get it. My father was a bigot. You know what the word really means? Well, we were going cross country, 1965, road trip, 10,000 miles. Ended up in New Orleans, walking down Canal Street, and a couple benches to sit on. And in those days, 1965, it was still the case. One of the benches said whites only, and the other said colored only. In defiance to my father, who was from Tennessee, lamest state in the Union, I went and sat on the colored only bench. Oh, I guess, embarrassed him. A lot of people saw me do it. They all stopped in their tracks on the street. Look at that kid. He's on the wrong bench. He can't read, or something, and they're telling my father he can't read. My father knew I could read and knew what I was doing. He pulled me off of the bench, took his belt off, and whipped me in the street in front of everybody. I don't know how long he would have continued. There was a policeman came by. The policeman watched for a while and then decided, I guess, that I'd had enough and made him stop. Anyway, different type of childhood, huh? Let's go back to our screen. And here's where we left off. We'll get off of this page.
Kylie, you probably have already mentioned this, but is there anything that we need to turn in tomorrow before the test at all?
Nothing. Nothing needs to be, well, I'm sorry. No, that's true. I'm correct. Nothing is due tomorrow. Okay. Before the practicums, the additional chapter 10 is due. So you'll have 1, 6, 9, and 10 in by that time. Okay. Nothing at all. Now, as far as the discussion, I do want you to take part of it. You can do that tomorrow. You can do that tonight, but you could also wait until after the examination, and the assignment, which is chapter 10, can wait until after the exam. It should wait, in fact.
Weren't we supposed to do chapter 2 as well before the next practicum?
Didn't I say that?
You
1,
said
6,
6,
9,
9,
2, and 10.
Okay.
I'm
2
sorry.
and 10.
Yeah. Either this go around, you did 3. You either did 169 or 129. So now you owe me either 6 or 2 and chapter 10. That's still just 2. Okay. Save those emails I send you, because you can look back and I should be able to give you the instructions you need. If not, email me and I'll probably have to send it out to everybody anyway. I'm going to go to this area here where it says Human Muscles Lab option. Optional means that this is the long version that you don't have to use, okay? Instead, you can use the condensed human muscle chart. And I'm going to open it up. And here we are. We went through the first 20 yesterday. The first 20, that's quite a few. Okay. And I'm going to go through the chin area, throat area. Okay. And then try to go through the leg area with you right now. That's as far as we need to go. I'm going to do the masseter. The masseter is on a model, and it's number 22, and it's right down here. The masseter closes the mouth. You can easily find it if you slap the ramus on either side of the face, slap the ramus of the mandible. Here's the masseter. Underneath the chin, okay, here's 22 again. It sort of looks sideways, but this is the masseter. 23 right down the midline, underneath the tongue, is number 23, the mylohyoides. This pulls against the hyoid bone, which is right here. The hyoid bone doesn't have an articulation with any other bone of the body, but it can be pulled upwards, okay, with the mylohyoides. 24, without backing up, it's not necessary, on either side is the gracilis. I would suggest to you right now, before we get too far into this, that if you can't mark it on your computer screen, especially it's my computer screen that you're looking at, why don't you write down the number of the muscle that we covered? We're not covering every part of the muscle. Usually I just identify it. I also tend to give you its action, and then I save for you the origin insertion to memorize later, because it's too much to do at one time. We can do it together later. So 23 was the mylohyoides, 22 was the masseter, so if you're writing them down now. 24 here and over here. This is the digastricus, and if you want to see the spelling, 24 digastricus. The digastricus opens the mouth. It also depresses the mandible, but if you say opens the mouth, that's sufficient. Some of these actions are in groups of 2 or 3 actions. Please learn the first one to be sure, and learn the others if you want to be complete in your own mind. But always get that first one. So the digastricus moving across opens the mouth. It's not a very strong muscle. In the cat, we'll see the digastricus as well. We have to go back to the other page. I'll wait till we get there. Here's muscle number 25. This comes from the sternum, which is the origin. 25 comes up and latches onto the hyoid bone also. This is the sternohyoides. The sternohyoides pulls the hyoid bone downward or depresses the hyoid bone. 26, this large muscle on the side of the middle to side of the head, is the sternomastoideus. It proceeds or originates at the sternum, come up behind the ear to the mastoid process. You recognize this on people all the time. Some people don't show it as well as others, but imagine that we have the one coming on the other side, this V shape, okay? A very sinewy person or a person that's thin really shows this, but most people show it, depending upon how you're orienting the head. The sternomastoideus, what can it do? It can pull down the mastoid process and tilt the head to the right or to the left, or if they both pull at the same time, they can cause you to look down. We did the external oblique yesterday. I'm not suggesting that you know it yet. I'm just suggesting that you've got your first look at it, and subsequent looks will cement it in. We did down until we get to tensor fascia lata. Okay. So we're doing 31 now. Here's a leg being looked at laterally, mostly lateral. Actually, it's sort of tilted, and we're seeing the back as well. The tensor fascia lata is this connective tissue right here. It runs up to the gluteus medius muscle, comes down over the vastus lateralis muscle. Don't worry, I'll talk about those separately. And on you, if you slap the side of your thigh above the knee, this connective tissue runs down to the knee. Tensor fascia lata is one name. It's also known as the iliotibial tract, and the nicest name, the friendliest, is the IT tract, TRACT. IT tract is what I will use on the test. .32,
Charlie, is that what some people call the IT band?
yes,
Okay.
it's the same thing. Okay. It's really connective tissue, but really is also a long tendon, long flat tendon. Comes up here and blends with the connective tissue over this muscle. This muscle is not white. We would have to strip the connective tissue off of it to see number 32, the gluteus medius. If you stand at attention, maybe you've seen this at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier was on television the other day. The guard walks, then stops at attention, and then one leg goes out, and then it slaps back in. Well, if you're standing at attention and you take, say, your right leg and move it to the right, you're going to abduct it. And the muscle that does the abduction of the thigh and therefore the leg is the gluteus medius. Behind that, the gluteus maximus is larger in the human than in the cat. In the cat, these are opposite in size. The gluteus maximus, this one tends to flex the leg. Now, how do you flex the leg? Imagine standing up. Maybe this time you want to hold onto a bar or something. But you're standing up straight. Take one of your legs and put it backwards. Bend it backwards as much as you can. Keep it straight, but bend it away from the body, backwards. Now, where's the flexion? Right around your butt, okay? Because that's where it's the angle is decreasing. That's flexion. To keep numerical order, we'll do number 34 next. Number 34 is on the middle of the leg, in the front, medial side, near the crotch. And then it comes along thin muscle to the side of the knee on the lateral side. I would not expect at this stage that you're not having difficulty with this picture. Okay, you won't later on. First off, you're going to recognize the sartorius muscle quickly. It's the longest muscle in the body. It traverses two joints at the hip and at the patella. So it actually participates in lots of different motion. Okay. Sorry, I don't like the order of these. I just did the sartorius. The gracilis is number 35 here. Now, the sartorius was on the anterior surface of the leg. Okay. But the gracilis is on the medial side. If you're by yourself, so it's no big deal, pat the inside of your leg, your upper leg, just pat it. Okay, you probably have just touched the gracilis. Runs down the medial side of the leg. If I were to have a basketball or a small soccer ball, and we were both seated opposite each other, and I told you I'm going to throw it at you gently, and I want you to catch it with your legs. You can't use your hands. If you were to be successful at doing that, here comes the ball, and you pull your legs together, and you touch it, and touch the ball, and catch it with the gracilis muscles. That's where the gracilis is. Still on the inner thigh, we have number 36. I'm not going to leave the others undone. 36 is the adductor magnus. And I'll see what I've given it here. Adductor magnus, good. The adductor magnus is a set of muscles. It's this muscle that I'm showing you. It's this muscle below it. It's this muscle peeking out over here. And it's this muscle down here. And as you can realize, the adductor magnus has on top of it the gracilis, but not hiding it completely. The adductor magnus, adduct, brings in the leg. Okay. It works along with the gracilis in that respect. But this is a powerful adductor of the leg. In the cat, it's called the adductor femoris. But rather than use two different names, I want to use the human name, adductor magnus, for that. Back to our side view. Gluteus maximus, gluteus medius, IT band. Now we have two more muscles. These are really on the back of the leg. I want you to realize we're looking from the back and crossing over. Here's the side. Okay. 37 is the biceps femoris. Not because it's of a cat, femoris, feline, but because it's on the femur, femoris. This is the biceps femoris. Next to it is the semitendinosus. These have different positioning, not much, in the cat. When you see a bodybuilder and you look from the back, the upper leg of the bodybuilder will have two muscular bands. And laterally to medially, those are the biceps femoris, 37, and the semitendinosus, number 38. Here's number 38. And so this up here is the gluteus muscle. This down here is the knee. We reversed it. Here's 38. This is the semitendinosus. And the one over here, the second big band, is the biceps femoris. Underneath the semitendinosus, there's another muscle. It's large. It's fairly well hidden. It's the semimembranosus, all the way from here to here, going underneath, coming out over here. It's underneath this whole thing. These three muscles, the biceps femoris, the semitendinosus, and the semimembranosus, are your hamstrings. They attach up high up here to the ischial tuberosity, and they attach at the other end, depending upon which muscle, to the lateral or medial condyles. These are going to cause, during contraction, your lower leg to bend up behind your back. They are going to flex the lower leg. Okay, coming around over here, you can't, wouldn't be expected to identify it from this picture, but here's the adductor magnus, at least a portion of it showing. Here's our IT band. Okay, the leg is in a different orientation. This muscle up here is the tensor lata. The IT band is the tensor fascia lata. It's much easier to keep them separated in your mind by calling 31 the IT band. And the tensor fascia muscle is not on our list. The IT band is sort of a connective tissue then, and it covers a very large lateral muscle here. And this is the vastus lateralis. This time, pat the legs on the lateral side, about 6 inches above your knee, and you're touching the vastus lateralis. This is the side. We're looking at the left side, okay, as it turns out. Sitting on the top of that, and I know I have a better picture, sitting on top, this is the, let me see if I do have a better picture for you. This is the rectus femoris. Rectus meaning straight, very straight, on top of the femur. So this time with your, let's play paticate once more. Pat the top middle of your thighs, top, just the top middle. And that muscle that you're hitting is the rectus femoris. So now you can go from the outside, vastus lateralis, rectus femoris, and in the middle, vastus medialis. There's one more muscle, the vastus intermedius, that we have to take the rectus femoris out and find it underneath. This is the vastus intermedius. Now, when we look at this guy, first thing you really should notice, and hopefully will soon, the long curvy muscle going from right to lateral to medial. This is the sartorius again. So sartorius. This is the front of the leg. The lateral side is over here, and it's unlabeled vastus lateralis. Drop the rectus femoris back into place here, and it's on top. And then the vastus medialis is on the side. Medialis, rectus femoris, vastus lateralis, and the vastus intermedius underneath. The sartorius really helps to give you your orientation. It runs from lateral down to the knee at the medial side. Okay. I'm going to move down, and now I'm skipping some muscles, saving them for our next meeting on Monday. I will send you instructions for the weekend, what you can be studying, what you would be smart to study. I'm going to do number 57 through 63. These are not difficult. 57 is the orbicularis oris. It's the muscle around your lips, a circular muscle that we call a sphincter muscle, meaning that it closes. In this case, it is also called the puckering muscle. So if you pucker, you're using the orbicularis oris, number 57. Number 58, we have a sphincter muscle around the eye. It's referred to politely as the winking muscle, but you can't call it that. You got to call it orbicularis oculi around the eye, fairly large muscle. 59 is the frontalis, also known as the epicranium, but the epicranium is more than just the frontalis. It's connective tissue behind it, not shown, and another bit of muscle on the occipital bone. Then it's called the epicranium. I don't want you to do that. I want you to use number 59 and what I have, frontalis. You can tell me what that muscle does, can't you?
Raises the eyebrows.
Where it raises the upper eyelid and eyebrows, right? Okay. Most of these muscles have one or both attachments to other muscles rather than bone to bone when you're looking at the face. Okay, what's number 60? 60 is the temporalis. Okay, can't mistake that. How much easier could it be Just hope that it's on the test, right? The temporalis. It does help to raise the jaw. It helps to raise the mandible at this end, but not much. For people that have control over this muscle, and most of us don't, we can wiggle our ears. In a face-to-face class, I always ask who can wiggle their ears, and it's always somebody that grosses us out, you know. If there's anybody that wants to wiggle their ears for us, I'll pin you a little bit later and let you do it. Okay, temporalis, not going to give you trouble. 61, I seem to be going back and forth here. 61 is right here. 61 is the zygomatic bone, so the muscle is the zygomaticus. There are two zygomatic muscles, the zygomatic major and the zygomatic minor. I don't care which you think it is. Zygomaticus is great. That's the smiling muscle. It pulls the lips upward and laterally. '62, this is the buccinator. I showed you the masseter on the other side, and it covered the buccinator. Well, when it's peeled away, we can see the buccinator here is a round thumbprint shaped muscle or walnut shaped muscle about the size. The buccinator helps you in sucking for like through a straw. It helps you in blowing like birthday candles. Okay. But without it, it'd be very difficult. It helps in general mastication or chewing as well. Here's the buccinator. Number 63 is always the tough one, but fortunately you have a multiple choice test. You don't have to remember it yourself. The levator labii superioris, here and here. The levator labii. Levator means to elevate. Labii means lip. And so it raises the upper lip and also helps you to sneer. If you know what I mean by sneer, imagine something smells terrible and you sort of scrunch your nose up, okay? Scrunch your lip up to your nose. That's the one doing it. These are the type of muscles that a lot of people just think are superfluous. We don't need these. We don't need them to walk. We don't need them to talk, really. We don't need them to do anything. We need them for facial expression. If you've watched any of the nature programs about facial expression, you know how important it is. Whether or not you agree that it should be important, you're not God, and neither am I. It's important. Okay, now one thing that you can do on your own. I'll give you a list, and I'll send it to you by number here of other muscles that you should begin to take a look at, and which muscles you should begin to memorize. Okay, off of the condensed sheet. This is the condensed sheet. Okay, memorize origins, insertions, and actions. Okay, don't have to remember word for word, but idea for idea, because that's how you'll match them up. just have one more short thing I want to show you today, and then let you go study. A lot of this material will come down about 15 minutes before the test. It'll be gone, just hidden, so that you don't get tempted to, go back to something during the test and get counted down as a look away. Okay, you have one more thing that says lab for today. In fact, this was the only thing that said lab for today, and it's additional muscle terms. Okay. I didn't show you that one. The extensor pollicis, you need to know that. That is the hitchhiker's muscle for the thumb. The extensor retinaculatum and flexor retinaculatum. I haven't shown it to you yet. They're on the list of muscles towards the bottom. You can look them up yourself, but I can describe them to you nicely. Okay. If you look at the underside of your hand, the palm side, okay, and run your finger back off your hand right to the wrist itself. All of the tendons going out to the fingers pass through what is like a white bracelet that goes completely around your arm. You can take a piece of Band-Aid or something and go around the arm. I can show it to you when we finish this anyway. I will. On the palmar side, that's called the flexor retinaculatum. The flexor muscles, their tendons run through the flexor retinaculatum out to the digits. Why do we have the flexor retinaculatum? To keep these tendons spaced apart, to keep them from rubbing together and wearing out prematurely. Unfortunately, the flexor retinaculatum and its counterpart on the other side, the extensor retinaculatum, they take their share of wear, and it can lead to carpal tunnel syndrome. What they were trying to prevent, the wear and tear, sometimes happens anyway. I'll show you these two really quick. For the head, you need to know these muscles. We just went over them. For the eye, we have not gone over them yet. We will do that next week. So don't worry about the eye yet, unless you wish to. They're there. Other terms, the linea alba. It's the white line down your midsection, from the sternum to the pubic arch, right down the middle. That's the linea alba. The lumbodorsal fascia is a diamond-shaped area of connective tissue that sits above the gluteus maximus, the other gluteus maximus, okay, and below the latissimus dorsi and the other latissimus dorsi. It looks somewhat like a triangle. I haven't shown it to you. I certainly will. Antagonist, two muscles that work against each other. Okay. So as you look at these muscles, there won't be a lot of questions, maybe two or three. Name an antagonist to this muscle. Okay. But you want to think about it as you do it. If this gluteus medius adducts the leg, as we said, what brings the leg back in? Well, you could say gravity. Okay, but depending upon how you're seated or lying down or exercising, you would need the gracilis muscle on the other side. A synergist. No muscle groups that are synergistic. Well, we haven't spoken of too many, but the biceps brachii and the brachialis are synergistic muscles. And the muscles that make up the quadriceps are all synergistic muscles. The muscles that make up the hamstrings are all synergistic muscles. Remember the diaphragm for breathing and the intercostal muscles. The external intercostals for breathing in, the internal intercostals for forced exhalation. On this side, the rotator cuff muscles that we identified yesterday, supraspinatus, infraspinatus, subscapular, and teres minor. The quadriceps that I mentioned just a moment ago, and showed you also the rectus femoris, vastus lateralis, medialis, and intermedius. These are all synergists. In the hamstrings, it's the biceps femoris, semitendinosus, and semimembranosus, and these are all doing the same thing, just helping out with each other. They're synergists. Here's the flexor retinaculum. Okay, it's labeled as 56 here. Okay, going across. The tendon sheath. This is the tendon of the palmaris longus. This would be the tendon of the flexor carpi radialis. The extensor pollicis extends from here and here out to the thumb. And the extensor reticulatum is on the other side here. Here's the bracelet I was talking about, although the number covers up half of it. The extensor reticulatum. Okay, first things first, and the first thing is the lecture exam tomorrow. Again, remember, although you didn't see the scores from the previous class, I would expect your scores to be a little bit lower because of the extra credit arrangement that we have, where you get your extra credit on the practicums, but you don't get it here. Okay, it works out the same way. You have to answer the same number of questions correctly to get an A or a B or whatever you end up with as any other class. So, questions that you have, then if you don't, go to your into your study mode, I hope, and I'll talk to, oh, I'm sorry, one thing. I have an extra Zoom session tomorrow. The test is at 1 o'clock, and the test is over at 2:10. Okay, at 2:30, that should give everybody a chance to take a break if they need to. At 2:30, I'm going to have a Zoom session on muscles. Okay, for 1 hour. I won't run it past an hour on you. Okay, and it'll be worth 1 point. Okay, so it's already scheduled. You can take a look at it if you want to. Okay. Definitely going to finish it easily with in class time. Okay, so first things though, first, and the first thing is the lecture test. So if you want to exit, do it. And if you want to stay and ask questions, stay. And good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Charlie.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie. Have a good afternoon.
Okay, Randy.
Okay, see you tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you, Charlie.
You're very welcome.